it's Laura. Today I wanted to talk about my relationship with food due to having ulcerative colitis and an ileostomy. So I have hesitated doing this video, and I've wanted to do this video since the beginning of this channel, but this is something that is really personal, and I have always had a fear that if someone who is going to get an ostomy sees this, that it might instill fear, and that is the last thing that I want, because obviously if you've been watching this channel for a while, you know that I love my ileostomy, and I am such an advocate for getting an ostomy if it will improve your way of life, and it absolutely has. But there are some things that are still challenging, and I want to also be honest about that. So my relationship with food is still probably one of the most challenging things in my life living with an ileostomy. I want to start first with the ulcerative colitis kind of part of it, which doesn't have as much impact as my ostomy does on how I look at food and feel about food. But having ulcerative colitis or IBD or many different types of digestive diseases, you have to be what they call NPO when you're in the hospital, and that means non per os or something of that sort. It basically means nothing by mouth, no water, no food. And I've been hospitalized over a dozen times. I've lost count, and it doesn't matter, but every time I've been in the hospital, I have not been allowed to eat or drink anything, at least for a part of my hospitalization. So that's really hard. You really experience hunger. So the longest I've gone is 14 days NPO, and that was due to surgery, and I had ileus, which is basically your intestines fall asleep with the rest of your body when you go into surgery and get anesthesia, and mine just wouldn't wake up for 14 days. So you can't eat anything if your intestines are still asleep. So at 12 days they put in a PICC line and gave me nutrition via that, but it didn't stave off the hunger, and feeling that type of hunger is something that I'm not even sure I can totally describe, other than it being tough. I mean, it's hard, and I remember that I would just watch the Food Channel. I don't know if that's really, I don't know, masochistic of me, but it was just what I wanted to watch. I was so obsessed with food. I could smell things, it felt like down the hallway, and I was so hungry and uncomfortable and thirsty, and it's amazing how dry your mouth feels after you're not allowed to put anything in your mouth for a while. And granted, you're being hydrated via your IV, but it was just something that continually over and over and over again got really hard to not be able to eat for long periods of time, or at least long-ish periods of time. So what that did for me is that I, to this day, and I haven't been NPO, knock on wood, for, God, it must be 4 or 5 years now, which is amazing, and I feel so lucky. But to this day, having that experience puts me in a mindset of, Laura, whatever the heck you want to eat, you are allowed to eat. So that's, and I don't think that's a bad thing. I'm a mental health therapist now and talk to people with eating disorders, and we don't ever want to encourage disordered eating anywhere, but it was to the point where it was excessive, getting on the edge of binge eating, where if I wanted a slice of cake, a whole bag, I'm not kidding, a whole bag of potato chips, a scoop of ice cream, half a pizza, I'm not kidding. I would allow myself to do that. And maybe there was an emotional component to it. I think there definitely was, but part of it was just knowing that I've had the experience of hunger before, and that makes me want to give myself permission to eat whatever the heck I want, whenever the heck I want to eat it. And I have been lucky enough that I've always been fairly active, but have gotten to a point where I've been heavier than I ever was before, and kind of had to check myself, and this is really the first time that I'm trying to mindfully listen to my body and intuitively eat, instead of just saying like, I drive past a McDonald's and I want a McFlurry, so I stop. Am I hungry? No. Do I want it? Yes. Okay, go ahead. So I'm learning how to do that. And then on top of that, wanting to give myself permission to eat whenever the heck I want to eat, the ostomy part kind of contradicts that. So living with an ileostomy with a lot of scar tissue, my experience has been that I can get bowel obstructions fairly easily. I can get bowel obstructions without eating anything, just because of the way my scar tissue sits in my abdomen from surgery and from the surgical complications. And so I have had more bowel obstructions than I can count, but only one has sent me to the hospital, luckily. And it was actually probably the most pain I've felt. And that was really hard and really scary. And even when I can clear my blockages at home, it still can be painful, and it can still cause a lot of nausea, and it's still really hard. And so the things that I can't eat, other ostomates that I know absolutely can. So vegan ostomy is always, his name's Eric. He is like my idol when it comes to what he eats. I'm a vegetarian, he's a vegan, and he just like eats these salads and they look so good. And I just know with my body, fruits with skins, most vegetables, I can do carrots and cucumbers without the skin. But like there are a lot of fruits and vegetables that my body just doesn't break down very well, no matter how much I chew. And so it leads to this kind of fear of food. Specifically, the morning after I have a blockage, my body still kind of feels slow and sluggish and kind of inflamed. And so eating pretty much anything that day doesn't feel very good. So I have this piece of me that wants to eat all the time and eat everything. And then there's this piece of me that's really fearful of food. And that, I hate that, because food is life and nourishment and energy, and I sometimes am terrified of eating the things that I know are the most nutritious for myself. Of course, like I find other ways to do it. Multivitamins, I actually got a juicer, so I juice fruits and vegetables like crazy, because it's not the actual fruits that I can't tolerate, it's just how fibrous they are that I cannot do. So I juice things, I make smoothies, I do all of that. But there is this fear of eating things and not knowing if it will cause pain. And why I wanted to talk about this is just because I don't want people to feel alone. If you can relate to this, know that you are not alone, and know there are ways to compensate for feeling fearful and ways to make you feel safe. But I always feel like when I'm eating things that are relatively good for me, there's a fair amount of bravery that it takes for me to even do that. Like apples work sometimes without the skin, obviously, but other times they don't. And carrots work sometimes and other times they don't. And I think it has a lot to do with how hydrated I am, how active I am. My mom and I drove cross country from California to Chicago when I moved back here, and the second day I had an excruciating blockage, and I had eaten nothing that would have caused that. It was just that I was so inactive in the car all day for 2 days that I think my body just didn't sit right. So the ways that I've kind of tried, I'm very much going to be honest and say I'm still figuring this stuff out, and it's been, God, like 9 years with my ileostomy. Oh my God. No, 8 years, sorry. So the ways that I've tried to do that is just allowing myself to take small bites of things, chew really well, drink a lot of water, be brave, but also if my mind is saying, you know what, that feels really scary, okay, well, let's compensate for it by drinking a juice or making a smoothie or taking a pill. I mean, there are so many things that are available nowadays, including like powders that are powdered greens that you can put in water. They taste terrible, but they do the job. So there are other ways to get those things. But it doesn't take away the fact that sometimes I really just want green olives on my pizza, and then I'm gonna regret it later. And so I think it's just figuring out the balance of how to eat and nourish yourself and eat in social situations and still feel safe. And fully, I chew things and spit them out sometimes because I want the taste. I love pickles, I love green olives, I love these things that are pretty darn fibrous. And I still want to experience them, and I'm very lucky. I do it at restaurants too. I'm no shame here about anything health related, really. I'm lucky enough to have a boyfriend who is super understanding and friends who are super understanding and might like tease me, but doesn't really matter because I know at the end of the day they still love me. But I think that it's something that needs to be talked about, is the relationship with food, specifically with digestive diseases, and how that emotionally can really take a toll on the individuals. So, I mean, I don't know if this video is interesting or helpful or anything. I just kind of wanted to chat about it because it's something that is probably the way that my ostomy affects my life the most nowadays. Is it's not during sex, it's not traveling, it's not being active, it's not anything, it's eating. And every day I think about eating. Obviously, I'm a human being, but like every day I think about eating and how it affects my health in like a blockage, ostomy, nutrition way. And so it's something that I wish I would have known more about. I wish I would have understood a little bit more. And like I said, if you are a person who might be getting an ostomy, know that this may not be your situation. You may be able to eat salads every single day and be completely okay. I highly suggest you go over and watch Eric Vegan Ostomy's YouTube channel, and so many other advocates out there can eat other things that I can't, and I can eat things that they can't, and that's just how it is. So it's really about learning how to figure out what your body can and cannot handle, and I can go in depth about how I did that. If you would like, let me know down in the comments below. I know I'm not the best at keeping my promises. I'm busy and a little overwhelmed, but that's okay. But I really do think that this is an important topic, and it's something that I don't do very well on my channel, is talk about the ways that I have struggled, because I so believe in like ostomies have made many people's lives better that I don't want to always put out the hard parts about it, because I don't want to discourage someone who really needs an ostomy from getting one. But I do want to be more honest and genuine in the way that I tell you how it still affects my life, and the parts that I still kind of, you know, I'd like to eat green olives, I'd like to eat pickles, I would like to eat mushrooms, I would like, you know, so like in the scheme of things, it's not a big deal. Would I trade my ostomy for eating those things? Never. But it's one of the realities. So I'm gonna stop rambling because I feel like the last 3 minutes I've been rambling, but let me know your thoughts. Let me know like if you have any tips for people who are reintroducing foods into their diet after ostomy surgery or after a flare, or you know, your experiences. Just like I do read the comments. I don't always respond, but I do read them. And I love hearing from you guys and hearing your experiences. And I strive to keep this platform really positive, but I also want to make sure that this is a place that you can come when you are struggling and feel validated. So I love you guys. Thank you for sticking with me all these years. Oh my God. And just sticking with me through the inconsistent posting. And I hope you guys are all happy and healthy, and I'll talk to you guys soon.